worlds. Gonna send a shock to the interview lounge.
Thank you very much, guys. Joined here by Score and Homan to assist in the translation. First up, congratulations, fantastic victory over TSM. I want to ask about the game and especially the early kills that TSM got on their carries, Bjergsen on LeBlanc and Wild Turtle on Vayne. Did that worry you guys in any way?
스코어 선수 우선 승리를 축하드립니다. 지금 TSM 팀이 픽으로 이제 좀 하이퍼 캐리어 가능한 르블랑과 베인을 골랐고 그 뒤로 그 두 챔피언이 좀 킬을 먹었을 때 이거 좀 위험할 수 있겠다라고 혹시 좀 걱정이 됐었는지 말씀 부탁드립니다.
일단 저희 팀도 하이프 캐리인 코고모가 있었고 그리고 그 베인 르블랑이 크는 동시에 저희 코고모도 되게 많이 성장하고 있어서 걱정하지 않고 있었어요. 저희 그 에로우 선수가 코고모를 되게 잘하거든요.
If TSM had Vayne and LeBlanc as their hyper carry, we had Kog'Maw for Arrow, and Arrow is a very talented Kog'Maw player, so we weren't that worried. Yeah.
Not that worried, and you guys had a fantastic game in the end to close it out. You had a great game together with Peekaboo once again, and you've only been a jungler since this season. Can you explain to me how it comes that you have such incredible synergy with Peekaboo?
스코어 선수는 이제 정글로 전향한 지 이제 고작 막 1년밖에 안 됐는데 지금 같은 팀의 서포터인 피카보 선수랑 엄청난 시너지를 보여주고 있습니다. 그 둘의 호흡에 대해서 좀 말씀해 주세요.
일단 피카보 선수가 들어왔을 당시에 그 전에부터 조금 제가 잘해지고 있는 단계였고 피카보 선수가 오면서 더 많이 저한테 도움이 됐어요. 제가 원래 말을 많이 하는 스타일이었는데 말을 많이 하니까 게임 플레이에 집중을 못했었어요. 근데 피카보가 같이 말을 하면서 이제 제가 말할 거를 피카보가 조금 더 덜어주니까 그 상황에서 제가 실력을 더 많이 늘릴 수 있었던 것 같아요.
When Peekaboo first joined our team, that was when I was at the verge of actually getting adopted to the jungle position. And before, I was the only one talking on our team, and because of that, I couldn't really concentrate at the game. But when Peekaboo joined the team, we both divided that role of talking and giving orders. So that really helped me focus on my jungle role. And overall, I think we have a really good synergy together.
Yeah, you guys did fantastic in this game as well. Now, this is dubbed by a lot of people as maybe one of the group of death. Yet, you won that first game convincingly versus TSM. Who do you think is making it out of the group?
이제 KT 롤스터 팀이 죽음의 조라 불리는 그룹 D에서 첫 승을 거두셨습니다. 마지막으로 그룹 D에서 웃게 될 두 팀은 누구라 생각되시나요?
일단 오늘 지면 당연히 저희는 가능성 없다고 생각했는데 이겼기 때문에 저희는 일단 무조건 올라갈 것 같고 다른 한 팀이 이제 제 생각에는 LGD라고 다들 많이 생각하시는데 오리겐이 될 거라고 생각해요.
So if we lost our game today to TSM, I think it would be a very hard trip for us. But since we won, I would say KT is pretty safe going to the next round. And a lot of people say that LGD has upper hand, but I actually think that Origin has a very good chance, actually.
Well, very interesting, and we'll see them playing LGD versus OG right after this one as well. Thank you so much, congratulations, and back to you guys over at the desk.
Thank you, Shocks. As Score mentioned there, we will get to how the team has been playing since the addition of Peekaboo and how much better they look. But first, I want to take an opportunity to dissect that early game because we saw a lot of really interesting things come through in the first 10 minutes from both teams.
I feel most definitely like the biggest part was the first 5 minutes, I felt that KT kind of felt lost because I felt they misplayed the early game, but they repaired it very well. And the moment it became standard again, I felt that TSM were just completely lost because the principle in lane swaps is that you put your weaker lane in the wave that is coming in and the stronger lane that is the wave that's coming out.
I mean, if we're talking about that lane swap, I do feel that the initial tower push was in favor of TSM, but I wouldn't even say, beyond that very first initial part, I really think that Someday just played it a lot better. You noticed his pathing. He just completely abandoned the top lane, went through the jungle, set up the dive, and you can see KT in that game played a very risk-averse style. They just waited for their opponents to make mistakes. We saw Dyrus taking a little bit more of a risk walking forward, giving up that first blood. And KT is a team that wins the overwhelming majority of their games in which they get that first blood objective.
Yeah, and they only take the risk. I wouldn't say they're completely risk-averse because they did go for 2 tower dives. There was that one where there was a tower dive as well that they actually pulled off pretty easily. But I feel like they wait for the situation where they mess up and then the risk goes down drastically, right? But I also feel like TSM took that risk with the 5-man tower dive bottom. It was actually rather good. I feel like TSM and KT both played a really good first 8 minutes of the game back and forth. Then it just got completely out of hand.
Well, let's take a look at that because, you know, it was relatively even, as you mentioned. There were a few slip-ups on the side of TSM, but things really blew open when we got to that Baron fight about 28 minutes into the game.
Yeah, and I think this is the big difference here when we take a look at the team fighting. Starting off this clip, we do see Bjergsen here. He's going to use his combo on Peekaboo. Q, but he's already in his ult, misses E, and then W to the side. So the biggest carry right now in TSM, the most fed member, basically has no damage. Meanwhile, Dyrus TP'd into this fight without having his ultimate up because he used it to escape a gank in the bottom lane. And TSM thought they could do this, but KT responded. They had the Rex side just to ult into that Baron fight. They had the TP up. So it was kind of an ill-advised fight. And then on top of their disadvantage from cooldown timers from that Olaf ultimate, they also had the disadvantage of not using the carry spells properly. And there was a big difference. Even though Bjergsen crushed lane against Nagne, Nagne played that team fight so much better. Yeah. You cannot, if you are a Fed LeBlanc, use your spells on an Alistar. That is a no-go.
Yeah, spells aside, being absorbed by Peekaboo, Peekaboo played every team fight incredibly well. The one where they were ending up catching out Santorin and it was the hook in from Someday onto 2 members, played that one great. Played that one great as well. Peekaboo, the addition to this roster, changing them around, his mid-late game shot calling and playmaking is what put KT in this spot and brought them all the way here.
Yeah, and you know, I've been in the KT house and I've watched them scrim, and Peekaboo and Score, definitely you can see the synergy between these two as a shot caller. They never stop talking.
I want to jump in here. TSM had rather low expectations. People had rather low expectations of TSM coming into this tournament. You mentioned that the first at least 8 minutes of the game was pretty solid for them. Yamato, I want to get your opinions as to whether or not they have met the expectations, whether or not this is at least promising for them to have started out with the right macro sense of the game, just needing to clean up more of their individual mistakes.
I feel like that when we jumped into this game, the first thing we saw was, of course, a pick and ban. And the Vayne, as we discussed, and Monte Cristo brought up a very valid point with the Sivir, like, he should have just picked Sivir there. It would have made so much more sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, what was Vayne doing there? I was like, what?
You can go first.
Yeah. So if you want to pick a losing matchup into Kog'Maw, because Vayne is going to have a very hard time in that 2v2, well, you can pick the Vayne, but if you're going to pick the Vayne, why not just pick the Sivir? Because you've already committed to losing, and at least you have wave clear. Because the big problem that TSM had is as soon as they were unable to push and TSM got the vision control back over their own jungle, okay, well then KT can group. Who is going to stop the Azir Kog'Maw combo? You can't really get onto them. There's no wave clear. Sivir would have provided that. Sivir also would have provided a way for Olaf to get into that backline. Not that Dyrus ever used his Ragnarok to actually do anything besides run away, but at least that's an option.
All right, well, that's going to do it for Game 1. We need to take a quick break, but when we return, it's another Group D clash between China's #1 LGD Gaming and XPEK's Origin. Worlds 2015 continues right after this.
Either Korea or North America will end this game 3-0.
Here comes the wave. They're trying to
Plus Boy gets aggro too early.
Comes with the knockup. Plus Boy takes a lot of damage from the turret. Someday gets slow, gets taken down. Has to flash away. The flash. Someday gets 2 with the E. There's a Brahma coming in with the knockup from Peekaboo. KT, this could be the fight they're looking for. Here he comes. Arrow right there. Bjergsen very, very low. Kills coming in for Wild Turtle though. But a double comes in for Nagne. Can win the game for him. And the biggest hit from Score. In comes Nagne. And it's going to be a bloodbath there. Here comes the Chaos Stunt. KT will take down TSM Korea 3-0.